So I guess I'll take a moment to talk about looking for wear, signs of excessive wear on some of the components. So these rollers right here, they kind of sit down inside these little shoes. And the only way that you should be able to insert them into the shoe is by this manner here. In other words, the curve of these shoes should actually hold the roller in so that I can't pull the roller out this way. If that makes sense. If you can pull the roller out, then that would mean you've got excessive wear on these components. This ring that I talked about, this should be inspected for wear. Generally speaking, a lot of the components, you'll be able to notice the wear as a discoloration. For instance, if it's a really shiny part like these rollers, you'll find sections where there's almost a grayness discoloration to it that might indicate wear. That would be like maybe more prevalent on this ring, for instance. But this one actually looks pretty good. This ring here, one of the things you need to check for is apparently these have been known to crack. I don't know whether or not they crack because maybe there's water in the fuel and it freezes and cracks them. That's, you know, you're dealing with very close, tight tolerances. Maybe that is a possibility. I don't know. This thrust washer right here, this is one of these examples where you don't really have to worry about what looks like excessive wear. This is kind of like that discoloration I was talking about, right? You get this extra shiny area right here where the weights kind of sit, and when it spins around, as long as you do not perceive a definite groove here in this washer, that discoloration alone is not enough to warrant replacement of that thrust washer. So now back to finishing disassembly to the point that I intend to disassemble this to. I'm not going to go hog wild all the way. So the next thing I want to do is, well, let me go back to this side here. This screw, I'm not going to touch this screw. This screw is an adjustment. The amount of that this screw is turned in and out directly changes the shape of this special, almost like a leaf spring, and it will affect the maximum amount of travel of the rollers. So this is not something that you want to touch. This is going to change your, I believe, your max fuel adjustment. So we're going to leave that alone. There is a very precise procedure for when a shop has one of these on the bench and wants to set that to the spec that's called for that engine. And it involves using pressurized air being fed in through the back here, and that will force these little cylinders, these little pistons out, which will push the rollers out. And then you, at a certain pressure, you take a measurement with an outside micrometer and you compare that to the spec, and then you adjust this accordingly. We're not going to touch this so that we don't have to do any of that. But I do want to take this out of the body. So on this side here, we have this ring that has to be removed, like so. Once that ring is removed, that will allow me to slide these two little retaining plates out of position. There's just enough clearance to get these off without having to take these adapters off of the head. All right, get those off. I noticed that when I turn this, it's very sticky or stiff. I don't think it's supposed to be that way. So I think that this is really gummed up. So I'm kind of doing a twisting motion as I'm pulling this out. There we go. I'm not crazy about these little areas of discoloration where that apparently when this pump was sitting in the truck, the truck was sitting for a long period of time being unused, those areas right there were lined up with the ports inside here and have caused some strange oxidation or something on there. Speaking of screws that I don't want to mess with, you may have noticed that when I got this assembly out, this screen can just pull off like that, make it easy to replace that if it's torn, and like I said, if it's not torn, just clean it. This, on the other hand, this is the transfer pump regulator, and there's a screw in here, and this is actually also a critical setting. So what I don't want to do is I don't want to mess with that screw and take that out. But I do want to know whether or not that plunger inside there is free and able to move. So I'm just going to take a small pick and see if that moves. Okay, that was definitely stuck, so that's not good. In fact, I can feel the gumminess in there. Well, I'll tell you what, that right there could have been a major reason why this thing was not working. All right, so that's freeing up and moving more the more that I do it, but that's still not giving me that's not giving me much joy. And like magic, one squirt of carb cleaner, you can actually see, look at how that's all just dissolving that crud. But one squirt of carb cleaner, and now you can see that really is able to move freely, and it springs back. So that's a major improvement right there. And like I said, that alone could account for my problems, I think. All right, so I don't think I'm going to need to take this apart. All of this stuff, all of these parts, I'm going to put in my parts cleaner, my ultrasonic parts cleaner, and let that go to town on this, cleaning this stuff up. But anyways, I mainly wanted to show that if you can avoid taking that screw out, it's a good idea not to. But you may have to do some cleaning some other way, which I was able to do. Okay. Well, I'm almost in the home stretch. I'm in the home stretch, I should say, of as far as how far I'm going to take this assembly of this pump down. There's a screw down inside here, and what lives down in there is the delivery valve. So I definitely want to get that out. Also, I want to get these plungers out. Now, I'm noticing that they appear to be stuck. So that's the other big issue with these, when they're sitting for a while and they get gummed up or rusted. These, I'm pretty sure these are supposed to just be able to be pulled right out with this like magnet that I'm using. And these suckers are not moving. So I'm going to take this transfer valve screw out, and we'll see whether or not that transfer valve comes out. That also, depending on your situation, it may not give you any trouble. It may just come out by inverting it and tapping it on the bench, which is nice when that happens. So I'm going to take this little nut out for the transfer valve. So we've got this little nut, and then we've got this little spring and a little part there on top. But then down inside there, that is the transfer valve. So if your pump is not all gummed up or rusted or anything like that, sometimes you can just invert it on the bench and tap it and get it to fall out. This one is not. So they make a special tool for extracting this, which unfortunately I do not have one. And what that tool does is that tool allows you to reach down in there. It's almost like a collet on the end, and you grab onto the you're able to actually grab onto that end of that little transfer valve and then pull it out. I am going to try, since this carb cleaner worked so wonderfully freeing up that other plunger, I am going to just try and give this a big bath. While we're at it, let's get some on these plunges on the end here. It is definitely cleaning that stuff up. It is a very nice solvent for this job. All right, so I've got a brass punch. I'm just going to try and give this a light tap. Have to move a little bit. There we go. That one moved. So that's pushing that one out, but I'm going to actually just push this right back in and use it to push the other one out the other way. Actually, while I've got that exposed, get a little bit more solvent in there. There we go. That one fell way out that time. Okay. And that is another major indication of what could have been going on with this thing. There's one of them. There's the other one. All right. All right, so now I'm going to try and squirt some carb cleaner down into these ports. This is what the special tool looks like for retracting the delivery valve when it's stuck. The Stanadyne part number is a 26081. It's about $130 for this little tool, which in my opinion is a complete rip-off. What it is it's basically almost like a collet closer on the end. On this end here, it's almost got like jaws that close around the end of the pin or the valve, and they're actuated by the threaded end here. So it works basically on the principle of some of my inside hole gauges. So Summit Racing and one other site listed the price of that tool at $60, but both of them set out of stock, and I have a sneaking suspicion that if they are ever in stock again at those two vendors, the price is going to go up. I did find one seller on eBay who has one that they're describing as new other. I think it's new open box. Wouldn't be surprised at all if the guy bought it, used it for one job, and is now just trying to unload it. He wants $90 for it. I am not going to shell out the money for that tool. I'm going to do what a lot of other people have done, which is I'm going to soak this overnight in solvent, and most people have said that they were able to eventually get the valve to just drop out after soaking it with solvent. All right, it's been about 12 hours. Oh, I didn't hit record, so I'm gonna have to just do a dramatic reenactment. So what I ended up doing was I ended up heating the outside here with the MAP gas torch, getting it hot. I actually squirted some PB Blaster down there. I cooked this PB Blaster down in there with the torch heat. I didn't heat this up to the point where it was going to discolor. I didn't want to get it that hot. But by doing that, and then also I remembered that I had some pretty unusual, very long, skinny needle nose pliers, And I reached down in there and I was able to get onto the little post on the end of the valve with these funky little needle nose. It's tricky, they just barely fit. And then once I did that, I was able to latch onto it and get the thing to pull up and out. I'm actually having more trouble now, but I already loosened it, so now it should. There it is. It's still hot. So that is the little transfer valve. And that little post, that little nub on the top is what you're supposed to grab onto. There's not much of it there, I'll tell you. So other than clean up the rest of these parts, there's not much I can do until that seal kit comes in. Oh, I almost forgot. I do have to remove this shaft from the body of the pump because there are 2 umbrella seals on this shaft that are going to need to be replaced. So there is a snap ring down inside here. There we go. So with the snap ring removed, should be able to just slide this out. There we go. Got a bearing in the front there. And actually I stand corrected. It looks like we've got a 3-part seal here, the umbrella seal. So we've got a seal that is, you can see why it's called an umbrella seal, where the cupped area is facing in towards the pump, so that's to keep fuel from going this way. We have a secondary seal faced the same way, also to help keep fuel from going this way. And then we have a cup seal facing the other way, and this is to keep oil from the crankcase from going into the pump that way. And these are going to be fun to replace because they actually have special tools that they sell for installing these. And I saw one of the pump companies that sells these parts and does repair work actually warns against the temptation of not replacing these seals just because you can't get them in. So we'll see if we're going to be able to do that without the special tools. I think one of the special tools that actually mentioned that it doesn't work on pumps that have the retaining ring slot right here, which is what I just had on this one. So we shall see.